Episode commencing in 3, 2, 1. Episode initiated.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another special episode of Cosmic Crit 2.0, the only Starfinder 2nd Edition podcast in the entire universe that is hosted by me, your galactic guide and faster game master, leading us all into disaster. My name is Patrick. I want to thank you guys for joining us this week. This is another in a slew of special episodes we've got this year that we've been having, and this one is special for a few reasons. First off, this episode is coming out a few days early. We've done this before as part of our kickoff to the weekend of festivities of Crittercon 8, which is crazy that I guess if we've been around for 8 years, it's the 8th charity convention that we've done. That makes sense number-wise, but still seems like a very high number. Our 8th charity convention, Crittercon, benefiting Doctors Without Borders, is happening today when this episode launches, Friday, September 12th, and it's going to be running through Sunday, September the 14th, one of my favorite days of the year. And we have a lot to talk about that in this episode. But the other thing that makes this episode so special is that I'm not here by myself today. I'm joined by none of my players, but rather a very special guest getting ready to help me celebrate the 8th Crittecon charity convention. And our 6th series of podcasts is freelance author of Paizo, who's written many rulebooks, society scenarios for both Pathfinder and Starfinder. Welcome for the first time to the podcast, Mr. Michael Bramnik. Welcome, Michael.
Hello there. Doing good. How about you?
Good. Sorry, my energy it skyrocketed from when we were talking before. I realize I turn on podcast mode when I hit record. I save up all my energy, and then I'm just like keyed up a little bit. Yes. Welcome. We've had many an author and writer for rulebooks and scenarios and what have you throughout the years come on and help us kick off Crittercon. And I think Thurston has done it twice. Thurston has been the charity MC, if you will, and has helped out with things. But before we get started, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? It can be, how you got into Paizo, or what do you have, like an origin story for your tabletop role playing games? Yeah, some people do. Some people have. I have a fun one, but tell us a little bit about yourself. Whatever you'd like to say.
See, chased by a radioactive goose when I was 30. No,
it gave me my GM powers.
Yeah, if only. I don't know. I mean, I've been playing role playing games since I was in high school. Started with Dungeons and Dragons when I was a kid. Went through the White Wolf family of games when I was in college. Got started with organized play with the White Wolf family of games. Back then it was called the Camarilla, then the Mind's Eye Society, and it's gone through a couple of different name changes since. Migrated back to D&D and then Pathfinder when it first came out. The very first year that Pathfinder was in its playtest rules set for Pathfinder First Edition. My home group picked it up. We started playing it. We loved it. A couple of years later, we heard about this thing called Pathfinder Society. Several of us were in grad school at the time. We were looking for more short form content and rather than big, long campaigns. Started doing that. When I moved to Indiana for my PhD program, found out that the local area in Bloomington, Indiana didn't have any venture officers. I had experience doing that sort of thing from my days in the White Wolf organization. So I became a venture officer for Pathfinder. Started doing that in 2012. Did that for over a decade. And towards
all of Pathfinder First Edition then?
all the Pathfinder First Edition into Second Edition through the launch of Starfinder First Edition.
Wow.
And during the first couple of years of COVID, throughout the years had made friends with people who ended up getting hired at Paizo, people who wrote for Paizo. At one point there was an open call. Mike Kimmel, who was still at the time was the Pathfinder Society developer, put out an open call for writers for what was then the new line of Pathfinder bounties. And several friends of mine were like, "Hey, you know all these systems back and forth. You're a great GM. Why don't you give it a try?" I had written for some charity conventions we had done in our area. I had written some custom adventure content. So I submitted one of them. And a couple of months later, I got an email and said, "Hey, this is really good. Would you like to write for Paizo?" And then it was actually, you mentioned Thurston. Thurston actually was the one who gave me my very first assignment, Pathfinder Society bounty.
That's nice.
It worked out really well. It was like, I got really good reviews from the folks at Paizo. I got contacted again for a Starfinder one from Jessica Catalan, who she and I first met because I actually GM'd for her originally. It was the first time we met. Wrote
a lot of
Starfinder
networking at the conventions,
Yeah, and just
you can meet them all.
Yeah, I mean, make friends with the people you play in GM with, because you never know who may end up writing or working in the industry, and then you never know what opportunities you might have.
Yeah, I was there. I was bribing them all with candy and trying to. I was doing the how to win friends and influence people, where I was like saying my name like 5 times in a conversation. I was like, "Have you heard of me, Patrick? I'm Patrick." That's awesome. Well, from what you've said, I've gleaned the most important parts of your backstory here is it is great to take part in charity conventions because it can get you jobs writing for companies that you love. But yeah, you first started with Pathfinder content. You have done some Pathfinder second edition at this point, correct? And now you're all over the Starfinder 2E launch. Are you very excited? Are you as excited as some of us are out here with the second edition having come out this last month?
Oh, I'm overjoyed. I was there there for the launch at Gen Con. Even though I had my PDF, I picked up the special edition as soon as I got to the Sagamore. But at Gen Con, gave all of the Star friends who I got to see at Gen Con, gave them a big hug. Congratulations for the launch. It's such an exciting time to be to be writing on a system at time of launch, to be right there as it's coming out. It's built on the same the same engine, the second edition engine the Pathfinder is, but Starfinder is still doing its own thing in so many different ways. Aside from Pathfinder, that it's an exciting time, and to be in on the ground floor with so much stuff, playing, GMing, writing, it's a really great time.
Yeah. On your name on the cover of some books and in the middle of some books, we'll talk about in a bit here. But yeah, I guess maybe I should probably rearrange some of my notes here. Let's first talk about, I guess, one of the more recent scenarios you've done. You've written for Society in the Starfinder second edition, the first full scenario, right? Invasion's Edge for Starfinder Society 2E. I want to bring that up first because I think there are 6 or 7 tables of it being run this weekend at Crittercon 8, our online charity convention for Doctors Without Borders. I was hoping that there would be a lot of spots left, but I think when we're recording this a week before the convention starts, there's only a few right now on Friday. It is possible that people can start additional tables, and if you come into our Discord and find that there are a ton of people wanting to play and there might be a spare GM, there could be additional tables of it as well. But the other thing that happens is, people get sick or realize they forgot they had a wedding this weekend. So spaces do open up. Check out our Discord for that. But I was so excited to see how many. Obviously, it's like the first adventure, so there's going to be a lot of tables playing it. But this is the second major convention, I guess, after Gen Con, where you've gotten to see tons of folks playing Invasion's Edge coming up here. How excited are you to be leading off this season of the Starfinder Society with this adventure?
I'll tell you, it was a great honor when Jessica Catalan approached me, the Starfinder Society developer, approached me to write the first adventure for the new season, for the new setting. It kicks off the story, the meta plot of season 1 of Starfinder Society 2nd edition. It's both the lead off to the story and also an introduction to players who might be new, because there's a lot of people coming over from Starfinder 1st edition, and a lot of people who, which we saw at Gen Con, a lot of people who have never played 2nd edition Pathfinder or Starfinder.
Mm-hmm.
So it's an adventure geared towards both types of players, people who are new to the story and people who are new to the engine. So the goal of the game is to sort of onboard folks and still be fun for veterans. And, so it's like, hey, here's, also Starfinder 2nd edition, Starfinder Society 2nd edition has a slight format change from Pathfinder Society 2nd edition normal scenarios. So it's like, hey, here's a new format, here's a new setting, here's a new system. So trying to write the first adventure in that series, it was a great honor to do. It was a lot of fun to write. Trying to keep things, when you're writing lower level stuff, you have to try and keep things balanced, but still tight. So you don't want to make things too easy, but you also don't want to. My roommate who works for Paizo has a saying that she likes: "Baby dragons have no treasure." You never want to write something that's going to crush the brand new level 1 characters right away.
Yeah. The first one is usually a good introduction, but not going to discourage people from playing more.
Yep.
But you get to set up a lot of mysteries and ongoing plots, I imagine. I'm sure. I'm guessing some of the NPCs you got to play around with, we're going to see more throughout this season. And a season is typically 1 year from Gen Con to Gen Con, right?
Yep, that is my understanding.
Yeah, and you'll have you got to flesh out a little bit more of it takes place, but the majority, I'm guessing, of the season will take place on Akaton. So I like that myself. I like in the first season of Starfinder Society, I like the ones that were not way out in the far reaches of space. I liked exploring the Pact worlds specifically. There was like one of the first ones on Akaton was very fun because it had kind of a Western feel to it. Did you get to watch or play along with any folks at Gen Con in Invasion's Edge?
Yep, I ran about half a dozen tables of it myself.
Oh my goodness.
I tried to go as incognito as I could for most of it, but a couple of tables I had some other GMs other GMs who got to sit with me, and they were like, "Wait a second, you're the author." And
this is written by Michael, and you're Michael.
It's like,
they're right here.
Yeah, but at that point the jig was up, and
you didn't advertise it as an author table.
Most of my players were new. I had a lot of 5th edition D&D players coming over to try Starfinder for the first time.
Oh wow!
A couple of families who were just trying out Starfinder, never played it before. I had one table, which is some friends of mine who specifically were seeking me out, who I only get to see them about once a year, so they try and find me at Gen Con every year. At that point, like, they knew I wrote that for that table. They knew I had written it, but
Well, that's exciting. Yeah, I guess I've never had that pleasure of I've GM'd a lot of Starfinder Society, but nothing I've written before. We've had plenty of authors uh, uh, donate their time, I would say, to Crittercons in the past, and ask folks to donate for, you know, um, for playing at the author's table. I think it's a pretty awesome, little perk to be able to be GM'd by the author of something. So, um, besides society, we actually both are contributors to the next uh, Starfinder 2E rulebook, core rulebook in the Alien Core that is coming out, I believe, in October. Spooky season, and
Indeed. And congratulations.
yeah, that we were allowed to say that earlier this
That's
year, I believe. Alien Core, of course, is the Starfinder equivalent of the Monster Core in Pathfinder Second Edition, and I think very specifically, it is almost all monster entries. The kind of Alien Cores of Starfinder First Edition had a lot of stuff. It had like, items, and sometimes there was other rules like for pets and things. Pretty sure that at least this first Alien Core is just going to be a whole bunch of aliens. We were talking a little bit before we started recording, and when did we write this? I don't even remember. It was a long time ago, right?
yeah, a year ago,
Yeah.
thereabouts.
Feels like a long time. I don't know if we can, because this is coming out next week. I don't know if we've been given permission to spoil what we have written, but there's been some very fun things that have been announced as having been in this book, and people are very excited about it. New dragons, for example, that's a pretty major one. Which I did not write, but I guess I can say what I didn't write, maybe. But all kinds of, space, fae, and things like that. I will say I was very jealous of some of the other monsters that I myself did not write in the AP, because there were so many cool ideas. Cosmic dragons. I'm just reading from the Paizo.com page, so I think this is totally okay. um, Angels, devils, trolls, and giant worms, and all kinds of. I think there's going to be some like NPCs in there as well. I'm personally excited about that as a GM, slash player of these games. I love the Monster Core books, and I think growing up, playing Dungeons and Dragons 3.5, those were my favorite books too. I liked looking at the classes and stuff, but the monsters are so much fun, even if you're not GMing. If you're just a player, you're like, oh my gosh, can you imagine fighting that thing or that monster?
I mean, even as a writer, I mean,
Mhm.
you can, if you just happen across a monster, you read through its ecology, its backstory,
Mhm.
you'd come up with a whole story just based on a single monster. Um, one of my
Really?
favorite one of my favorite things in high school is I remember it was Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. The Steel Dragons had this really unique backstory, how they like to blend in with human culture. I wrote an entire 2-year long storyline based on that for the
Mhm.
group that I was running for at the time. You could, so as a GM, monster cores and alien cores like this are a gold mine.
One of my favorite things, and I'm sure tons of authors do this, but I think it's especially a great tactic that Paizo um, asks for is leave a bunch of blank spaces in, not just uh, kind of backstory and back filler and things like that, but even in the adventures themselves. It's fine to leave open-ended parts to that have just questions of like, well, this could happen, but it's beyond the scope of the adventure, and just give the GM some what ifs to ponder, and then the very fun stuff comes out of that. I was just talking with an unnamed player on my podcast about a element of the character that they want to incorporate into their backstory, and it's from text in a Starfinder first edition rule book, and the text is like 2 sentences of like a page that they want to kind of focus in on, and it's very vague. It leaves it open to interpretation, and that's what a fun thing you get to do with making characters is be like, I'm gonna take this, I'm gonna run with it, and kind of answer those questions myself. The aliens in the Alien Core are the same way. They are mostly presented without a lot of, I guess, context. You know, it'll give you their kind of backstory and things like that, but you can use them as allies or enemies for the most part. There's some that are very much like the Swarm are just kind of bugs that will eat you, but there's so many others that like, especially I think we're getting some different kinds of space fae and things like that. I'm super excited about the idea of just new things in the universe. I don't think were already explored in Starfinder first edition. So in the dragons too. I love dragons. Everyone loves dragons.
Yeah, everyone does. Yeah, and something that I got to do for the Alien Core is because the Starfinder team was working on so many books in such a short amount of time, is I got asked if I could help do some development work on some of the monsters for the book. So beyond writing my own entries, I got to work on doing dev work. So I got to look at a bunch of other authors' work and help getting it ready for final. So there's more.
Hopefully it fixed mine, because they were probably needing a tune-up or two.
Well, I can't, on a podcast before it comes out, I can't say which ones I looked at, which ones but so what I can say is that a lot of them do have, specific places in the universe where they're like, oh, this one, this creature is endemic to this part of the galaxy or something like that. And you can tell that they're setting those up for future storylines, but most of them are just, as you say, they're left open-ended for the GM to be able to take and run with. But I'll tell you what, everything that I looked at was masterfully written. Everything, you could tell that every single author poured so much heart into it. I'm really excited to see Alien Core when it comes out. Yeah,
and but one thing as writers we don't get to experience is, you might have a little bit, we don't get to see the art as it's rolling in. I can't wait to see the art in the book.
That's something I haven't seen either.
We'll get
except for the little previews.
Yeah, we'll get some little previews over the next few weeks, I'm sure. But and I think there actually had been a few. I don't remember.
Yeah, they did. They put half a dozen up on Paizo Live like a couple months ago, and that was it.
The cover is pretty epic. It's like a giant doom, like a demon fighting Akatas. I can't wait to, maybe there's a Spectra in the background. Right. And all right, that out of the way, I'm super excited to talk about the next thing you've been cooking up, Michael, last but not least for sure, that I want to talk about.
Big one.
Yeah, likely your largest writing project for Paizo. Have you written anything longer than Guild of Grave Worlds?
Nothing bigger.
Quite a project. The next Starfinder 5-level adventure. So pretty much a big book, big hardcover that's coming out at the end of this month or beginning of October. I think people will get their copies sent out. We're at the end of September. I'm telling you the truth, I would have loved to have talked to you even if you hadn't written this, but I really wanted to get you on the podcast, get you under the bright lights and on record to talk about this. Hopefully before anybody else. Have you talked Guild of the Grave Worlds with other interviewers before?
No, not as such. Paizo had me on to do the announcement, but other than that, you are the first.
Yes, and there's already been some fun stuff I think, leaked in that initial announcement, but I'm really excited about it because much like Dead Suns, when we started playing Starfinder, we didn't have access to the book, and we started making characters anyway. We were so pumped before it came out, and it's the same feeling as 8 years ago with the launch of first edition. With second edition coming out, we are very excited to get in and sink our teeth into a shorter long adventure, a little shorter than a 6-volume AP, thankfully, but I think a different pace, hopefully, as well than the adventure paths. So yeah, let's talk about Guilt of the Grave Worlds. How did you come about working on this project, this little adventure path?
Well, Thurston. So at the time, Thurston was still the creative director for Starfinder before Jenny Drzabski took the reins.
Mm-hmm.
But Thurston and Jenny approached me, said that they had it's now as of I think just a week before you and I are recording this, they've just announced the new format for adventure paths, shifting away from monthly going to hardcover. So at the time, Thirsty and Jenny, reminding me that I was under 6 different non-disclosure agreements, told me that the format for APs was going to be changing, that they had this new adventure path for Starfinder that was going to be coming out, and they needed somebody to write it. And given all of the time compression that the Starfinder team was under, they were hoping to have a single author tackle it with a single, have one author, one developer, try and get it done in a slightly compressed amount of time. They wanted to know about my availability. It turned out that I had open availability. And they said, great, because you're the guy we would like to write it. It's going to tackle, here's what it's going to tackle.
Mm-hmm.
And so we talked about it, for about an hour. I signed on, next day, got the contract, the outline,
off to the races, huh?
And immediately off to the races.
Yeah.
I can't give all the details, but it was definitely a slightly compressed timeline over what a normal adventure path would be written in. But I also had amazing support from Thurston and Jenny the entire way. It is using the new format, it is a full adventure path going from levels 1 to 5. Mm-hmm. The player characters start off as up and coming adventurers in the Pact worlds. They can either be independent operators on their own, or they can represent one of the major factions. In fact, the player's guide at the beginning of Guilt of the Grave World will present some new backgrounds that players might be able to take. And then they will be offered a job, and that job might lead to some curious discoveries. And as this part has already sort of been spoilered, at some point the corpse fleet, speaking of Dead Suns, it's not, I swear it's not an exact parallel of Dead Suns. I've seen some people online saying, wait a second, didn't we do this with Dead Suns? No, it's not the same. It's very, very different. It's not a corpse fleet super weapon that you're trying to go and dismantle. No, hey,
it worked for the Star Wars sequels. Why not do it again?
I mean, the corpse fleet is
somehow the corpse fleet returned.
Somehow. Corpse fleet they're a great enemy, and they're an eternal enemy because they have nowhere else.
They won't die.
Exactly. It's sort of in the name. It's in the name. So you make a discovery. The corpse fleet have a problem with you making this discovery.
Mm-hmm.
Your discoveries take you to the planet of Eox, the eponymous grave world. While there, you have to get help from a rather sensational star of the system by the name of Zoe. Made a very popular person.
We say it like we're having an aneurysm here on the podcast. We say, The exclamation mark has to come through.
For legal trademark reasons.
I feel like you can't have a Eoxian adventure without Zoe poking his head in somewhere.
No.
Yeah, well, that does sound a little. I mean, Zoe was not in Dead Sons. I added Zoe into our Dead Sons adventure. Some of our listeners might be a little confused. He's too much fun not to have in your adventure. But some of my players, when I gave them the Paizo.com description of Guilt of the Graveworld, was like, wait a minute, Dwarven mining company, we find a secret on a rock and are chased by the Cord Fleet. I was like, it is different. It's not Dead Sons Part 2. But yeah, Paizo doesn't copy itself, but sometimes adventure paths rhyme, and that's fine. I think it's actually going to be fun to kind of play around with some of the similarities and differences between
the differences will be apparent pretty early on. And Zoe's involvement, people who are fans of Zoe will hopefully love this. I am a huge fan of Zoe. I've been a fan of Zoe since the first time any of my characters got to meet him, which was the first season of Starfinder Society.
Mm-hmm.
I believe it was a John Compton scenario. I'm blanking. It was I'm blanking on the name of it. Live Exploration Extreme.
Yeah,
that was the name of it.
I believe that was the first Zoe, but did Thurston come up with Zoe originally?
Zoe appeared before that. I think that was the first one I played, but I think Zoe appeared in one before that.
Yeah.
It was a charity ball.
Sounds right. That it wasn't the first year somewhere there.
But Zoe, I think Zoe might have been a Thurston creation. Probably.
I remember a Paizo blog post with the art for Zoe spoiled. I was like, oh, come on. What are they doing? Is this Vincent Price as a zombie?
So as part of the the enticement for me to write this, I got to write Zoe's backstory and Zoe's character sheet.
Oh, we get to fight Zoe. We're gonna scrap them up.
I hope you don't fight Zoe.
Oh no! Is he that high level?
That would be telling.
Oh yeah, he is. He's gonna be like the oldest person on Eox, the most powerful.
I mean, it's rumored that Zoe's been around since I guess since the time of ancient Thassalon and
ancient Thassalon. That's Wales. Yeah, my players are very excited. They've loved every little bit we've had with Zoe in the past. Yeah. Do you have other games or other scenarios or media like movies or TV, things that you went to draw on in writing this adventure? Eox is kind of its own thing in our universe, our Starfinder universe, but
I mean, as far as there's so many things that I'm influenced by, like the cinematic starship combat system was not even fully done when I was writing this, but there are several instances of it in Guilt of the Graveworld. So my instructions were, hey, put a placeholder here, and the placeholder should be something like, give us an example of what you want this to feel like. And then so this is from Jenny as the developer, and then we'll circle back to it when the mechanics are ready. We'll circle back to it, but until then, put a placeholder, and the placeholder should be like, what do you want this to feel like? Give us like a film or a TV example.
Yeah.
So like one of them was like the Millennium Falcon chasing through the asteroids, followed by TIE fighters in Empire Strikes Back.
Classic. And, I love it.
I went to the classics for it.
Yeah. It made me very sad in science class to find out that like actual asteroid fields are like millions of miles. They're like so far spread out, but in my mind, they're always going to be like bumping into each other like every 10 seconds.
Yeah. I mean, and then there's another part of it, without giving huge spoilers, but, in academia, I was a geologist. I have degrees in geology and history, but there was a section of the adventure that's like, oh, I need to call upon my I was a TA in a volcanology class once. So, hey, look, I could call upon my volcanology knowledge to write this part of the adventure. That came in really handy because I get to now some of I may have geeked out a little bit too much on the scientific terms, and it may have gotten edited down. It may have gotten sanded down a little bit for final, which is totally as it should be because I may have geeked out a little bit too much. But so I pulled from science fiction, from actual science, and then when you go to see Zoe, you're going to the halls of the living, which the entire facility is a little minor spoiler. Parts of Eox, the parts that the living get to see, were partially inspired by, again, in part by my roommate's love of Disney. Which you'll even, this is an authorized spoiler by Paizo, you'll even be able to see on the map in the book for Pact Port, that the map was inspired by the map of Disneyland.
Oh my God.
That it looks like this glittering undead Disney World style, like looking at one of the park maps.
That's fun. That is that is something that was in the GM core. The recently released GM core was in the Eox sections and talk about the halls of the living, which I don't think was that in Starfinder First Edition. Is this a new thing that they're allowing us to play around with?
They didn't have a lot for the halls of the living in First Edition, which is why it's getting such an expansion now. And so there's like parts. So when I was writing Halls of the Living, it's like I was writing parts of it as if they were parts of, little sections of Disney. It's like, oh, and then this part is this land, and in this land all of these things happen. One of the parts of the Halls of the Living is an homage to one of my favorite childhood properties, which is Tron.
Yeah.
It's like this is the, Tron had the game grid. And this section of the Halls of the Living, one of its nicknames is the Game Griddle, because it's shaped kind of like a griddle, and there's all of these game shows happen there, and they're constantly being filmed. So it's an homage to, hey, you're just under the hot lights all the time, and you're being filmed, and there's all these different little itty bitty game shows, but you're filling the Pact World's video feeds 24/7, 365.
You gotta have content. As a podcast producer, I understand that you have to have content. I'm very excited about getting back to Eox. It feels like in First Edition, but mostly in Dead Suns, we really just scratched the surface with, because we aren't even there in book 3 for the entirety of the book. I really feel like you can just dig in to the place, and it just seems so dystopian, and it is fun that the living are like such a unthought of minority on the planet, because it's not a lot of people need to breathe oxygen.
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny you say that you want to flesh out the world of the dead, but
oh yeah, I remember describing the flesh factories very gruesomely. It sounds horrific, but it's just funny that it's just like their business. They got the charnel factories working 24/7.
Yeah, the gazetteers for Eox in this book, and this is again stuff that I've been authorized to share with you because Paizo gave me some permission to share a couple of things.
Yeah, give us all the secrets.
You get to spend more time in the living centric areas of Eox. So the halls of the living, Packport, which are designed for tourists, and not tourists, but designed for the living. Because first edition did a pretty good job of describing, as you said, the charnel factories, these undead planes,
the bureaucracy of Eox, which was a lot of fun.
Get the conclave of whispers and the a lot of these darker things. You get to meet a lot of really colorful characters. As the Gazetteer is full of NPCs who who you can then take into your own campaigns. A hilarious story for one of them is one of the inspirations I had when I was trying to think of it, like, okay, I'm required to create a certain number of NPCs because they needed to do art for a certain number of NPCs. So I'm like, what kind of people would be living on Eox and still interacting with the living? And so in my mind, I'm like, these kind of people are the ones who have a craft, something they want to perfect. And it has to interact with the living somehow, but it's something that they did in life and they want to perfect it. And it's so it could be a doctor who wants to purge disease, and it doesn't matter that they're undead now. They still want to purge disease and they want to perfect their ability to do so. So there's a medical complex on Eox that has some of the best care in the Pact Worlds, because you have doctors who have been doing this for aeons, who know all of the tricks and secrets to dealing with disease. But one of my favorite ones was I came up with this Eoxian undead sommelier who knows the exact pairing for everything. Who operates the best restaurant on all of Eox, one would argue, in the Pact Worlds. Who has in the original writing has this magical cellar that has magically preserved wine that goes back beyond the gap, the most expensive meal. And then when I'm doing the writing, Jenny is asking me all these questions about whether I modeled this on certain things. And I'm not sure where I'm getting these questions from. And then we're having a video meeting and she's like, "Oh, I thought you did this because you knew I was a sommelier before I was a writer." And
she's lived so many lives.
I had no clue that Jenny was a sommelier before she became a writer. So we just had this great laugh about it, that I just came up with that totally independently. So it ended up staying in because we thought it was such a great coincidence.
That's hilarious. There's so many fun things to think of in, when you have basically eternity, but also, I don't know, can they can a undead sommelier taste the wine that they're offering to people, or are they living vicariously?
You have discerned one of the secrets of dining on Eox. There's even a sidebar about this in the book.
Oh my goodness.
That Eoxian food, that travelers get a warning when going to Eox to avoid the food whenever possible, because it looks amazing. The chefs on Eox make the prettiest food anywhere in the galaxy, but because they have no taste buds, it often is the most bland or sometimes rancid food in the galaxy, except in certain exceptions, like the place where the sommelier's restaurant is, because he perfects it.
Yeah.
But most Eoxian food looks beautiful, but tastes horrible because, as you said, no taste buds.
Tastes gray. Yeah, I think I remember something along those lines. We have a joke in our podcast that one of the primary exports of Eox is black milk. Just milk that's black, and it definitely doesn't come from a black cow. People don't really question it, but there are a lot of giant spiders on the planet and other gross things that could be milked. Boy howdy. Yeah, I'm getting very excited. But before we sign off here, and allow people to play at Crittercon 8 this weekend, our online charity convention. One of the things I saw most recently that maybe you can talk about, or at least tease, is they've kind of done it for some adventure paths in the past. Music kind of geared towards the adventure, or Paizo has done some commissioning of tracks for videos and things like that. Is there a behind the scenes playlist or a suggested playlist for Guilt of the Grave World? I guess so. That's not the forum.
Sorry. There's a can of worms. So I am a creature of music. I have music playing almost all the time, especially when I write. I cannot write without music.
Mm-hmm. What's your go-to? Do you have like a specific genres, or?
It depends on what I'm writing. Certain, like for sci-fi, it's a lot of synthwave. Synthwave and rock for sci-fi stuff. It tends to be more. It's either classical or sometimes classic rock for fantasy stuff. Sometimes I'm just in a rock or metal mood.
Right.
Or orchestral for fantasy very often. Soundtracks very often. There's just certain soundtracks that I just love that I could just listen to on repeat. But before I go down, I don't want to go down that rabbit hole for your listeners. But for Guilt of the Grave World, so one of my fellow authors, Dave Nelson, did something fun. He wrote one of the AP volumes for Myth Speakers, and
I've got that book right here.
And so what he did in the days leading up to its release is he started putting out, because he is, just as I am a historian, he has a degree in classics and Greek mythology. So he started on social media. He started putting out a Greek mythology meme a day, leading up to the release of his book. So something I'm going to be doing in the day, with permission from Jenny, is putting out my sort of personal soundtrack for each chapter, leading for each of the 5 chapters of Guilt of the Grave World, in the days leading up to its release at the beginning of October.
That's gonna be here before you know it. So by the time this episode comes out, it's just gonna be a couple weeks away. So that's exciting. I'm personally excited about that. I love it whenever I can hear the adventures going on. Obviously for the podcast we have to kind of source our own music, so it is interesting to see what people like. What do people think like the background music sounds like? There's been a lot of different genres talked about in Starfinder in its past, and pop rock, like Strawberry Machine Cake and things like that. But I'm always interested in like just what's traditional Eoxian music sound like, and why is it so depressing? Awesome. Well, hoy howdy, I can't wait for that. I cannot wait to get my dirty little mitts on Guilt of the Grave World. As I said, as we are recording this, we are doing character planning, which you'll be hearing in a couple months, I think, on our Patreon first, and then I think as soon as next year for the main feed. We're playing a long game, getting ready for Guilt of the Grave World.
Excited for it.
Yeah, we're pretty excited. I'm imagining it's going to be taking us through the following year, like into 2027, and by then we'll have some more options for other Starfinder APs. Are we going to be seeing more adventure paths written by you anytime soon? Are you burnt out after one, or can you tell us just what's on the horizon next for you? Or are you sticking with Starfinder? You got more Pathfinder going on?
I have, because you know how NDAs are. I can tell you that I'm writing more stuff for Paizo.
Yes. But not any specifics.
Yeah.
Nothing specific.
Can't. I wish I could, but I can't tell you more than that.
So confirmed.
I'm excited.
Unconfirmed.
I'm excited about what I'm writing for Paizo.
Good.
I've got stuff coming out. There's stuff slated for 2026. Some of the stuff that I've written has been announced, just not the authors. The authors have not been announced. That's the best I can tell you.
Can do you think you're going to top Guilt of the Grave World? Do you think this might be a crescendo for your Paizo writing, or do you think you've got more fun adventures in you?
Given that music can ebb and flow, this is definitely a crescendo. Writing an AP by myself is a crescendo, yes. But I'm excited for more things to come. I love writing. I love doing this stuff. I love seeing people engage with the games and the rules and the stories that I write. And I love hearing their stories in turn and the fun stuff that they come up with.
Yeah. We're pretty famous.
We do it.
We're famous here for taking the APs and then just like adding in and shoehorning in a couple of backstories and other things. So I'm excited to see where we can blend character backgrounds with kind of the adventure path. Is there anything
I can't wait to hear what you guys do with it.
Yeah, it'll be a lot of fun. And I'm sworn to secrecy for the characters these players are making. We're gonna have some very fun ones. Like I said, we're dedicating entire episodes of just talking to individual players this year, something we've never done before on the podcast, to really dig into them. And well, before we sign off, is there anything else you'd like to share or promote? Doesn't have to be Paizo related, or anything going on with you want to share with people before the start of Crittercon 8?
Just a reminder to everybody, the charity information should be up with this podcast. Doctors Without Borders is a great charity that everyone should look into supporting.
It's highly rated, and it's got international reach, which is one of the things we've had to move for Crittercon, because we have people playing all over planet Earth. It's a little confusing to schedule games sometimes, but we use Warhorn, so you'll see when you log in there, you can set your time zone and figure out games that way.
And if you're looking for me, I don't have a huge social media presence, but mostly I'm on Blue Sky. Canis Dirus, so the Latin for the direwolf. Canis Dirus at bluesky.com. That's where you'll find me.
Awesome. And that's where you'll be announcing music for Guild of the Grave World. Okay.
Yep, and the last couple days of September, I will be posting soundtracks for Guild of the Grave World.
Awesome. Right, Michael, thank you so much for being here. It means a lot to us. Share your time.
Thank you for having me.
In what sounds like a very busy convention season. A lot of gaming, a lot of writing, it sounds like. We're so excited for this very, very anticipated adventure. Thank you so much for all the scoops. We also, we didn't tell you this before we started recording. We love scoops here on the podcast too. So, thank you everyone out there for listening. If you do choose to support our charity partner, Doctors Without Borders, there should be a link in the description of this episode, but come on to our Discord and you'll find it as well. Or you can go onto the Doctors Without Borders donation portal, type in Crittercon 8, should come right up. And we're going to be back in a few weeks with some more Crittercon playthrough episodes, some classics and whatever we get up to this year. Until then, everyone, thank you so much. Have a great life, and we'll see you amongst the stars.
You've been listening to Cosmic Crit, the Starfinder role-playing game, and adventure paths are trademarks of Paizo. All Pathfinder and Starfinder images are property of Paizo and are used with permission.